Hi folks, in today's video I'll be showing you how to paint up this alien, focusing on the edge highlighting in this video sponsored by Hero Forge. This is one of the extra large minis due to the wings and the base, and we got it in the plastic that comes primed. It's not the high detail, but I really like the primed. Means you can just kind of jump into painting right away. And I'm going to start off by focusing on some of the blue armor bits that I want to do on this mini. So I'll be basing it in with Kantor blue. Even though a lot of this mini is armor, I wanted to do different colors to kind of accentuate the different plates and pieces, bring some dimension and interest to this mini. You know, it would be very easy to just do the whole thing in a silver or gold, but that's not quite as interesting. So we'll go ahead and base in all of the blue parts. And now that I've done that, I'm actually going to use Nuln Oil pretty much over this whole mini. I'm not going to do like the face and hands, but everything else I'm going ahead and doing. And that's because I want to do a lot of the armor as a silver armor. So since it's this already primed in this nice gray, that kind of gives me that base layer of color down, so I'm using the Nuln Oil to bring out some of the details. Now I'm going in with Black Templar to pick out a few places that I want to be a darker silver, not quite as light. And using the contrast kind of allows me to skip the step of basing and then doing another shade. It does it all in one. All right, so let's come in closer as I start to do some edge highlighting. So I'm using Administratum Gray, and I'm using kind of the side of my brush to get just that very edge of the armor. I find, especially pieces that have a very distinct edge, using the side of my brush and very lightly allows me to get a really nice clean line. Otherwise, I will go in with just the tip and really focus on the edge. So you can see I've done all of that gray edge highlight, and now I'm going to go in and follow the same concept and do the blue. So I'm using just the very tip of the brush, and I've gotten the paint a little watered down so it flows off the brush very well. And yeah, I'm just using that tip and the very edge to really pick up the edges. Now I will say, kind of the lighter you can go with your edge highlight, the more it's going to stand out, but try and keep it in that same color family. So I used the Fenrisian gray, which was a very light grayish blue on the blue parts. Now to get a little bit of kind of silver metallic look, I'm very, very lightly dry brushing all over this with Iron Breaker right now. And that's just going to give it a little bit of a sheen. Maybe, it does cover up some of the edge highlight, so you could potentially skip this step. But I like the way it looks, especially as the mini's moving around. And you can still see, especially on the wings, there's still that edge highlight there that helps bring out the different pieces of this mini. So now I'm going to go in and do the brass scorpion. So I wanted to do some brass armor bits, and I'm going to base this all in. Because I knew I wanted to come in and do these in a warm tone, I didn't want to base it in before dry brushing, because then I'd just have to go back and clean it up. So now that that is all based in, we're going to do a little bit of a wash over this. Now instead of using Nuln Oil, I'm going to use Agrax Earthshade, and this is to help keep that warmer tone, as opposed to the Nuln Oil would make it a lot darker, kind of black. And now that I've let that shade dry, I'm going to go in and do edge highlighting again on the brass. And for this I'm using Canoptek alloy. It's a warm, almost silver, but not quite gold. So I'm again focusing on the edges, and with this I'm really paying attention to kind of where are the pieces that are going to get the light. So I'm focusing more on the top parts of the mini and going around, not getting all of the edges, because if you do all of the edges you're going to end up with more of like a cartoon effect. or like a cell shade looking effect. Before we get to the rest of the mini, I want to take a second to thank today's sponsor, Hero Forge. Hero Forge offers fully customizable tabletop miniatures with dozens of fantasy races and thousands of parts to choose from. And they recently added this really cool alien and insect species. You can choose from all sorts of different outfits and gear, combining them and adjusting them to end up with your fully customized miniature. They are constantly expanding the catalog of customization options, adding new parts every week and major features like species and custom posing on a regular basis. So head on over to Hero Forge to build your custom miniature today. Back to the miniature, and now it's time to give this alien some skin. You know, we don't want him just a gray-looking alien. Ryan actually did the design for this miniature, so I was running off of the color version on the web browser to kind of get the inspiration for what to paint. So I'm painting the skin with this Naggaroth Knight to give it this really deep purple look. That seemed like a really awesome shade for an alien. Not quite your normal skin tone for a person. Maybe a tiefling, but not a person. And I upped the brightness here so that you could see the details a little bit better. So I'm coming in with Xereus purple to add in some highlights. And after this, I'll actually do another layer of highlights with Daemonette Hide, kind of blending them together. I did a little bit of wet blending with these two colors so that you had those smoother transitions. I think that kind of helps emphasize the skin tone versus the metal look that we have with all of the edge highlights. Kind of similar to how there are some of these blue pieces of armor, wanted to add some red accents to this mini that will kind of complement the orange that you'll see at the end. So I'm coming in with Mephiston Red to paint in these just with a fine brush so I can get in between those cracks and not worry about, getting stuff on the parts I've already painted. Now to really make that orange pop, I'm painting in with dead white. I'm also doing this little beak thing in dead white, but I wanted to have the orange pop. So I'm kind of priming it back to white to allow for the orange to really pop. And while that's drying, I'll go back in with Agrax Earthshade. Again, tying it into the brass color, but helping bring out some of the dimensions to the sculpt. So while that's drying, I'm coming in with Troll Slayer Orange and just very carefully painting that over the white, trying to make sure that I'm covering all of the white. But it's really making that orange pop a lot more rather than if I had just painted it on top of those darker colors. Now I'm coming in with Evil Sunz Scarlet to do the same thing, that edge highlighting. And you'll notice with these wings, I'm focusing very much kind of on all of the corners and not dragging it all the way across the edge, but kind of letting it peter out as it goes. I think that creates a much more realistic looking edge highlight. So now I'm just adding a little bit more dimension with Fuegan Orange, and I'll come in and add a few layers with Fire Dragon Bright and eventually a yellow to make this sword thing kind of look like it's glowing orange, like energy sword here. And once that is all done, we have our completed mini. So there you go. That is the alien with these awesome wings with some edge highlighting. I hope that this was a helpful video for you. Edge highlighting is really great for any kind of armor. I also see it used really well on jewels and stuff like that, where you want that kind of high contrast, make it look like it's shining, the light's really catching it. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like this video if you enjoyed it. And I'd love to hear about the sci-fi characters that you have created in Hero Forge in the comments below. Thanks again to Hero Forge for sponsoring this video, and we'll see you next time on Roll for Initiative. Bye!